Hi everyone. Welcome to an introduction to workrest. My name is Stuart Willis, and I'm the Group Assistant CRM Manager at Volley, and I was also one of the original team at workrest. So within this webinar, we're going to do a high-level introduction to workrest hours of rest and leave products. So as with all of our webinars, please feel free to drop in any questions in the comments, and I'll try and answer those either as we go through or at the end of the webinar, depending on how good I am at multitasking, which is not great. So we will see as we go through. So to give you some background in workrest, so we launched the company in 2017. And at the time, we were one of the first digital solutions to the hours of rest process, with the goal of replacing the paper-based timesheets that crew, including myself, would have filled in every month back in the day. So with the workrest system, crew can now log hours of rest every day, and captains, HODs, and yacht managers could view those hours, monitor compliance throughout the month, and then sign off the timesheets at the end of every month completely digitally. So fast forward today, and workrest is used by over 25,000 crew. We've had over 11 million days logged on the app, and over 400,000 timesheets have been signed off using the system. So we feel we've been successful because we've focused on making the app and platform as easy for everyone to use, whilst providing all the functionality that you need to get tasks done. So the workrest platform is made up of an app for crew and a dashboard for HODs, captains, and yacht managers to use on their side. So we're going to kick off by doing a little bit of a dive into the workrest app, and then we're going to move over to the vessel dashboard to show you how things look on that front. So I'm going to just shift my screen over to the workrest app. So the workrest app can be accessed through iOS or Android devices through their applicable Android or app stores. You can also access the workrest app through a web browser, which is where I'm on now. So the idea being with this is that anyone can access the workrest app with or without a phone. The apps, as I said, through the iOS or Android store are available offline, so crew can use the app offline. The browser-based version obviously does require internet connection, so certainly something to think about on that front. So when crew jump into the app, the kind of core page for them is this calendar page, essentially. So this is where they would go in and log hours of rest, request leave, view their accrued leave balances if the vessel is using the leave product, and everything is done in here, essentially. So when you first log on, the color coding system for the days is essentially a green day, or these green rows of days represent compliant work days. Red represents a non-compliant work day. Blue represents a rest day. And black days, which I've got some here, represent a leave day or a period of leave, essentially. So the first thing that crew typically would come in and do is log hours. So to do that, all they would need to do is tap on a day, and then the toolbar down at the bottom here switches to show you your options for logging a day. So you can log a day or a series of days. And then the options here, as I said, so you've got leave, so you can schedule leave or request leave, depending on how the vessel has set the system up. You can log a rest day. You can log a work profile, which is essentially a day that has been saved by the crew member. So if they have a number of common days that they work, they can save that day as a work profile, which is then nice and easy to use later on. Or you can go ahead and just simply enter the day as a work day, and you can go in and use the wheel to enter your start, your break, and your end times for the day. So that's logging a day. So nice and simple, nice and quick. And this is typically what most crew would come in and do. You can set yourself reminders as a crew member as well. So if you wanted to be reminded to log your hours every day, you can do that and set that up through the app. We typically find that crew would go in and log hours, usually sort of once every 2 or 3 days. Ideally, it's every day, but obviously we know that crew are busy and they don't always have time to do so. So it's typically every 2 or 3 days they would go in and do that. So the other common use case for crew within the app is to view accrued leave balances. So if, as I said, the vessel is using the leave product, one of the core features of the leave product is that both admins and crew have access to their accrued leave balance. And all that means is how many days that crew member is owed. So the crew can get access to this information by tapping on any day and then hitting this show accrued leave balance button. and that will show them their active balance for any day and time. So again, I can go in, switch to future months. And again, if I'm coming in to request leave and want to know how much leave I've accrued for that day, you can come in and see that balance as well. And even if you're not in the requesting leave process, you might just want to know how much leave you've accrued. So again, you can go and do that. If the day has been entered already, to find that accrued leave balance, so just click on the day and it would show at the bottom here. So that's showing their accrued leave balances. So finally, when you log a non-compliant day, I just wanted to reference. So if you log a non-compliant work day, if I tap into the day, I'll obviously see the day's hours that I've got at the top here. I would then be prompted to leave a comment as a crew member. So I go ahead and let's go ahead and leave a non-compliant day here. So let me just get out of here. I'm going to enter hours for this day. I'm going to go through and enter a pretty long day. So start work at 4 o'clock in the morning, finish at 11, a pretty solid day. And I'm going to save that. So that day will come up as a non-compliant day. So now what happens is the app is asking for a comment to be entered in. So you tap on that notification here, and you can just say something like, all caps, 202, required me to miss my break, as an example. Essentially, once I've done that, it gives me this little tick in my non-compliant day to show me that I have entered my comment and the non-compliance has been essentially actioned from the crew member's perspective. And we'll come on to what that means from an admin's perspective in a moment. But essentially, that is the process for crew. So as I said, logging hours, reviewing accrued leave balances, and obviously logging of those non-compliant days. So once they've done that, essentially each crew member, I've just jumped over now to the vessel dashboard. So the vessel dashboard is from a top level is split into the different products that we offer essentially. So on the left-hand nav here, if I hover my mouse over, it shows me the left-hand nav and I can see hours, leave and in-out. So in-out is currently a beta product. So not currently charged. There is some functionality which I'll cover on later. But these are the two core products that we're going to cover in depth today, which are the hours and the leave products. Let me just bring up my chat. Perfect. So yeah, essentially when you first log into the dashboard as an admin, you will land on the hours review page. So the page has got the different, so you got your hours pages at the top here. So you got review, summary, non-compliant type, non-compliant entries, and your exports page. Under there, you've got your page filters. So you can switch between particular months, particular years, and I can go left and right to switch between months as well up at the top here. You can also filter this page for specific departments or positions on board. And then under there, you'll see each crew member linked to your current vessel. And it's split again into departments and prioritized by position. So captain at the top, deckhands underneath. And obviously further down you go, you've got your different departments there. So each crew member has their own calendar format, essentially, within this page, and crew will automatically show up within here as soon as they've joined the vessel and been verified by an admin. And as soon as they go ahead and do that, they will have a crew profile. So if I go to the settings panel here and then go to users, you'll see each of your connected crew members to the vessel, essentially. You have their name, their email address, their position on board, and their permission on board as well. So this relates to their ability to access the dashboard, which is where we're on now. So all crew by default can access the workrest app, and they will join the vessel as a user initially, and then other admins can then go and assign admin access to any other crew members themselves. So an admin basically has access to this vessel dashboard. And if I click on a crew member's name, it will bring open their crew profile. And on that crew profile, you've got a little bit more information. So you can see again their name, their position. You can change their position here as well if you need to. So if they get promoted and their position changes, you can come into here and change that position. This permission action here allows you to change their permission to this vessel dashboard. So as I mentioned, so admin can access everything on the vessel dashboard. A current department admin can only access their department. So this is typically used by heads of department. So, you know, if you want your chief stewardess to be able to see just the interior department, you can set them as a current department. Again, similar with potentially chief officers, second officers, or the engineering department, you can go ahead and assign them access to their own department. All departments means they can access every department, but they can't access billing information and further sensitive information through the dashboard. And a user essentially means they have no access to the dashboard, and that is the default for every new user that joins workrest and is connected to a vessel. We also have a box for the signature. So this is just going to tell you if we have their signature. So obviously when a crew member completes a month through the app and is going to sign off their timesheet, we need a signature for them. So they would enter the signature through the app. I'll actually just show you how that works. If I come back into the app here, open my menu as a user, I can go into account and then update my signature. And this is essentially just where they would go in and enter their signature. It's easier to use on the app. You can use your finger and swipe to put your signature in there. And then essentially we're then showing, yep, we have their signature. And then we're giving you their email address. And this little tick box is telling us whether or not the email has been verified. So that's just showing you that they've basically clicked on a link to verify their personal workrest account. We have these elements, so number coming soon and contact number coming soon. So as we progress over the year, we'll be adding additional features to the crew profile. So we'll be having things like crew documents, passport information, all that kind of thing will be coming into this crew profile. And that comes as part of our development of the leave system into becoming an end-to-end payroll system, which I'll touch on a little bit more later. But essentially, this is where that information will be stored moving forwards. We also then have the ability to change the crew member's start date. So we have up the top here, you've got a tab for general, assignments, and contract. So the assignments relates to their start date on board. Typically, when you join a vessel, the system is giving them the start date of the day that they've joined the vessel through workrest. So that will be their default start date. You can then, for any other time, come in and change that start date for the crew member. And essentially, from an hours of rest perspective, all that's doing is setting the start time for when the timesheet needs to be signed off by. So if I've joined workrest and joined a vessel on the 15th of the month, we don't require them to have entered hours prior to the 15th. So they wouldn't need to log from the 1st to the 15th. They would only need to log from the 15th to the end of the month in order to sign off their timesheet. Again, you can change that date as and when you need to. Typically, once you've got that set, you can just leave it and never need to change it in the future. And if you need to, you can end the assignment here. So you can remove the crew member from the vessel at that point as well. And then the contracts tab relates to the leave product, does entail contracts to be added to crew. And this is where you can come in to see the contract start dates. You can add contracts and get information for the contracts on that front. Again, we'll touch on contracts a little bit later in the leave product. So that's crew and their crew profiles here. So let's jump back to the hours pages specifically. So as crew start logging throughout the month, the hours will automatically come through into the dashboard. So you'll be able to see them, click on them, see the hours that they've worked. So this timeline up at the top here is showing you this light blue represents rest and the dark blue represents a work period. So as and when the work periods are entered, you'll be able to see those come through. Compliance information is shown underneath. If it's a compliant day, there'll be nothing showing. If it's a non-compliant day, we'll show you what non-compliance has been raised and the time frame in which the non-compliance has been raised. And any comments, obviously, so we entered in a comment earlier, which I'll jump on into a second. Essentially, that comment or any other comments entered by the crew can be seen through this feed. I can also, as an admin, enter my own comment in here as well. So there's a feed section per day, essentially. So if I jump back to the day that we had logged, so we logged this in the app just a second ago. So this is obviously that long extended work period. These are the two non-compliances that have been flagged for that day. And then the comment that we added in here can be seen in the feed. So as an admin, then you'll be able to come in here, leave a comment to say why, again, this non-compliance has been raised, and then highlight any rest periods that are going to be added into future days, or kind of go into the process for what's going to happen to resolve that in the following days, essentially to make sure they've got enough rest moving on from there. So that's a non-compliant day. So you can also schedule hours through the dashboard as well. So obviously we've looked at how you can schedule hours through the app. As an admin, you are also able to go in, tap into a day, and it will open up this day scheduler. And to add work periods, you just click and drag within the timeline, and that will add a work period. So we're giving you non-compliant or compliance information underneath as well. So that compliance calculation will always be running in the background as and when you're changing things. And essentially here, because we've had a non-compliant day the day prior, it's showing us that we've still got that non-compliance occurring within to this day, because within any 24-hour period, it's rolling into this period. So we do have some compliance information to kind of make sure that we incorporate into this day. If I had, I'm just going to exit that. If I had another day where I didn't have any non-compliance information, you'd just see that's compliant up until it becomes non-compliant, essentially. So we're giving you that non-compliant information at the time when you're entering the leave, the work day, essentially. You can also add a range of date here. Again, similar to the app, you can choose a start and end date, and then this logged day will apply to that entire period if you need to. And essentially what this is used for by vessels is to schedule hours ahead of the current day. So if you want to enter a work rota for the deck crew or for any crew you want to have on the vessel, you can go in and schedule that through the dashboard, and that will then come through automatically into the crew member's app. So if the crew member does work to that schedule, they don't need to change anything. Alternatively, if they have the schedule but they've actually worked separate hours or maybe more or less, they can also go in and adjust those hours through the app themselves. So again, it's a nice system that you can have, that admins can schedule the work periods for crew. And again, if they don't need to change anything, they don't need to, and that can go ahead and you can sign off the timesheet based on that. So once a month has been completed, if I navigate back to January, as an example here, once a month has been completed by a crew member, you can then go off and sign off the timesheet. So this little sign off timesheet button will show under the crew member's calendar. If we don't have all the information that we need to complete a timesheet, we'll tell you what we're missing. So the typical ones are we don't have a signature, or the crew member's email hasn't been verified. So we need the crew member to verify their email address, because we send them their timesheets once it's been approved. So we need to make sure the email address is accurate, essentially. So they need to verify their account before we can sign off that timesheet. But if we have everything, we can essentially go ahead and click this button here to sign off the timesheet. And then as soon as you've done that, the information that we're presenting to you here is showing you who the approver was, and it's going to give you the initials, and then who the master was. And again, it's the initials that we're showing here, and then the date that this timesheet was signed off. And if I hover over here, I can then download that timesheet individually, or I can click to export all up here, and that will then wrap up all timesheets that have been completed for this month. And then I can then access those timesheets through the exports page. So if I jump back to 2024, you can see here, these are previously approved timesheets for a given month. So May 2024, June 2024, and I can go ahead and download those, and that will come through to the computer as a zip file with each individual timesheet as a PDF document that you can then view. And essentially on the timesheet itself, we've got the crew member's name and signature. We've got the master's name and signature. And obviously we've got their timesheet shown on there. And you as a vessel can set who you would like to be the master of the timesheet on the hours settings. So if I come to settings and then hours, this is showing you that you can set who you want the master to be on the timesheet. So if you have rotating captains, rotating chief officers, you can actually set whose name and signature you want to appear as the master. So the choices you have are the approver as the master. So that's essentially whoever has ticked to sign off the timesheet within the dashboard. It can be their name and signature inserted as the master, or you can set it and say, actually, I would prefer this person to be the master on the timesheets, regardless of who approves the timesheets. It needs to be their name and signature. And then when their timesheet is being approved, you can set whose name and signature is included on their timesheet here. So that's how you would go and set that, essentially. By default, it's going to be the approver as master when you first start using the account, but this is where you can go and change that. And that is essentially it for the as a rest product. So yeah, we've gone through how to schedule hours, review non-compliances, and then sign off timesheets. We do have additional pages like the summary page, which is going to summarize hours worked, days worked, all that kind of thing, how many non-compliances have occurred. We also have a non-compliance entry page, which is summarizing your non-compliances for this current month. And it shows you again what non-compliance there are. It's going to highlight some of the comments, and it's going to say whether or not this non-compliance has been acknowledged. So if I open up the day, I can review it, see the comment, and then I can click to acknowledge it. And then once you've acknowledged that, it's just showing other vessel admins that somebody's reviewed it and acknowledged it, and it's then going to fall within this acknowledge tab. And again, it's going to show me who it's acknowledged by. So I'm logged in as Jane H at the minute, and the date that has been acknowledged. Again, quite useful. A lot of vessel management accounts will use this just to go and ensure that everyone is following the correct procedure for non-compliances as and when they need to. So that's the as a rest product. So let's jump over to the leave product. So the leave product was created in 2019, I think it was, that we launched the leave product initially. And it was essentially designed to help vessels track and manage their leave processes on board. Essentially, the system uses what we call contracts. So you create a contract for crew, and within the contract, it includes things like start dates, entitlement rates, how much leave they're owed within a given year. You can specify how they accrue leave, as in should they accrue leave evenly over the course of a year, or should they only accrue leave when they're on board? So you can set all the things that you need to. And then when you come into here and then you'd schedule leave for crew, and then we would then be able to give you a running accrued leave balance that can then be seen through the dashboard and also seen through the app. Obviously, we went through the process of seeing the accrued leave balance through the app on that front. You can get access to that on here for any crew member. So when you first land on the leave product, again, it's a similar set layout in terms of you've got your leave pages running along your top toolbar here. You've got your page filters underneath. And then we've landed initially on the review page, which is going to show you a yearly Gantt view as a first instance. So this is typically where we find most vessels like to use, how they like to use the product. So essentially, you've got your years, your months running along the top axis here, and then you've got your crew listed here. And it's again split into departments and prioritized by position. So captain at the top, deckhands at the bottom. And essentially, all of your leave periods are highlighted in these color coding sort of columns running along here, essentially. So the color coding system we have for leave is purple is rotational leave, pink is paid leave, and then this kind of greeny color is any other type of leave. So we have around about 35 different types of leave that you can schedule for crew, and a lot of those will fall into this green category. So you can see here, this is a compassionate leave period, and this is a shoreside training period. So you do get a little bit of information initially when you're looking at the leave. So we're telling you how many days the leave period is, what type of leave it is, and then if there's a T at the beginning or the end, that's signifying that there is a travel day assigned to this leave period. If there's not, you won't see the T. I can then see this Gantt chart view per month as well. So if I want to look into it in a little bit more specific detail, I can click into the month and you'll see each day again, rather than month at the top, you've got the days of the month. And again, it's quite nice to see rotating crew here because you can get really specific to see which days crew rotate out. If I hover over a day, if I look at this section here as I hover over, it's going to tell me how many crew within each department are on the vessel on that day. So as I move over, you'll see this change. And then if I filter by department here to say, only show me the deck department, the tab at the top here is now going to show me each position within the deck department and how many of those crew are present on that current day. So again, how many deckhands are on board on this day? How many chief officers or second officers are on board on that day? So again, it's a really nice sense check to make sure that you've got the correct number of crew on for any given day. I can then switch between year and month at the top here. And I can also see this page as a calendar view as well, if need be. So this is our original kind of view for leave. It follows a very similar framework to the hours pages where each crew member has a calendar format. And then on this calendar format, if I hover over any day, it's going to show me my accrued leave balance. It's going to take just a little bit of time to go out. Oh, this crew member doesn't have a contract, so they're not seeing a balance. But here you go. Here you can see for Jane, so I hover over any day, I can see the accrued leave balance on that day. So if I need to go ahead and change any leave period, I can click into it here, and then it will open up the leave, show me the dates. And if I need to make any changes, I can hit the edit button, and then I can go through and change start dates, end dates, all that kind of thing. If you need to schedule leave, to do that, you can click into any crew member's row, and then it's going to open up the leave scheduler. So the leave scheduler is where we would go and schedule leave, essentially. So it's split up into outbound leave, which is the leave information, inbound, again, which relates to outbound, inbound, both relate to travel. And then the review stage at the end just reviews the leave that we're scheduling and allows us to change some settings for the leave. So if we go ahead and just add in a leave period for Jane here. So we're going to start by adding in a travel day. So we're going to say here that April the 1st is a travel day, and the travel day should last for 2 days. I'm going to assign a flight, and you can then add in flight details. So we're looking at departure, airports here, dates and times, flight numbers, arrival airport, all those kinds of things. You can add in notes as well as you need to. And then we're going to move over to the leave section. So here is where you set the type of leave. So different types of leave will do different things to a leave balance. So as an example, rotational leave, it won't accrue leave. It does earn a salary, and it does deduct leave, and it deducts at a rate of 1 day for every day taken, essentially. If I switch that to paid leave would accrue leave when they're on it. And again, it would earn a salary, it does deduct, and it deducts a rate of 1. That changes depending on the type of leave. So again, compassionate leave, it does accrue, it does earn, it doesn't deduct leave here. So again, each different leave type does different things to a balance, and we're highlighting what those different types of leave do at this stage. I'll also show you another page where you can find that information as well, but essentially that's where you would go and set the different types of leave. You can then go in here and put in your duration. So you can say it's going to be 3 weeks, it could be 3 days, or you can set the end date on the calendar here as well, if need be. Inbound, again, is travel, similar setup. You set the number of days the travel should be, add in any flight information. And then once you've done that, you get to the review stage. The review stage is going to summarize information. So you've got outbound travel here, what type of leave it is. So this is compassionate leave over this period, inbound travel. And then here is where you can set whether or not travel should accrue leave or not. So most vessels will have a different way of looking at travel days. Many vessels simply look at them as neutral days. So they don't accrue leave and they don't deduct leave. Their balance just stays the same over the travel duration. So if that's the case, you can say no to travel time accrues leave. Or if it's looked at almost like a work day and that it does accrue leave, you can set yes to it. It does accrue leave, essentially. You can also then have an approval process. So if, for example, a head of department is scheduling leave, but it needs to be approved by a captain or a vessel admin, another vessel admin, you can set that here to say, actually, this needs to be approved by this person. And yes, I do want to notify them by email. So this is going to send them an email to say this leave period needs to be approved. They can then go in, review the leave period, and approve it before it gets fully scheduled. I can also notify the crew member. So if I said yes to this, it would send them an email out once this leave period has been scheduled to say, this is your leave period. Again, it would show similar information to what we're seeing here. So start dates, end dates, all that kind of thing. And if I want to notify anyone else, so again, another head of department, you could do so by setting them here. And essentially that is it. And then you'd go and propose it, saying propose and notify because there's an approval process. If I remove that approval process, it just says schedule and notify. So that's going to send an email out to the crew member. So that's how you schedule leave. I'll touch on contracts just at this stage before I come into the accrued leave balances. But essentially, the process is that when you are setting up this system to begin with, you would create what we call a contract profile. So a contract profile includes things, let me jump in and show you a contract, includes things like, so you've got start dates, end dates, anniversary dates, and then you can apply a profile for this crew member. You can set trial periods. So does the contract have a trial period? And then there's all sorts of technicalities that you can put within this trial period. How long it's for? Do they accrue leave during the trial period? If they leave midway through the trial period, should they still accrue leave? Or is it a different rate? So there's all those different functionalities that you can include there. The calculation step is where you would go to set the different specifics around how crew accrue leave over their contractual period. So the two key ones we have are permanent leave and rotational leave. And this relates to whether the crew member should accrue leave evenly over 365 days, regardless of whether they're on the vessel or off the vessel, or whether the crew member only accrues leave when they're on the vessel. So it does change their daily accrual rate quite significantly. So if I'm looking, this is a typical time for time contract. So rotational, 182.5 days essentially. So you work half the year and you get half the year off. And then underneath, we're showing you for each day, well, this is a day by day calculation to say for every day the crew member works, they will accrue 1 day of leave. If I change that to a permanent contract, you'd see that they only accrue half a day for every day worked because they're also accruing leave when they're on leave, essentially. So they accrue leave at a slower rate per day, and it's more evenly over the course of the year, essentially. But the typical contract we see is a rotational contract, and that is essentially where you would set that. You can also, if you don't want to have this daily accrual rate, you can choose a calendar month accrual rate. So actually, I would prefer to say for each calendar month, regardless of how long the month is, the crew member should accrue 5 days, as an example. Again, this is quite a common contractual type where, again, the crew member just has a set amount of leave they accrue per month. And so what's happening, the system in the back end is looking at each month and it's giving the crew member a different daily accrual rate depending on which month they're looking at. So for January, the accrual rate will be a little bit lower because there's more days. In February, it's a higher accrual rate because there's fewer days, essentially. So the system is able to make that calculation based on that. And if the crew member leaves or starts midway through the month, so if they haven't completed a month, you can tell the system they should accrue at a rate of this, as an example. So you can set that all up in here. So it's a very customizable system. You can essentially have anything that you need to operate. And then once you've done this, you can save this as a profile. And again, it's really easy to then apply it to other crew throughout the year rather than having to create them each their own contract, essentially. And then lastly, you can set things like an opening balance for this contract. So if they are carrying over leave, accrued leave from another contract, you can actually start this balance off with a balance of 50 as an example, or it could be a negative balance. So again, you can set negative balances here as well. You can also assign them flights within a year. So again, if they are assigned, 6 flights, what have you, you can assign that within here, and then you can deduct from that balance as you go through and schedule leave. And then finally, this review page is just reviewing everything that you've scheduled in that contract, essentially. So that is what we call our leave contracts. And then once we've got that, we're able to give you your accrued leave balance. So the accrued leave balance can be seen through the review page on the calendar, like we saw earlier. You can also see it through the summary page. So this summary page is typically used by management to look at payroll. And essentially, it's filtered specifically originally by a month. You can also change this to look at a year or a custom date range. So it might be the crew member's contractual year, could be, beginning of February to the end of January. So you can set that date range here, and then it's going to show you within that time frame how many days a crew member's been on board, how many flights they've used, how much leave days they've taken, how much they've accrued, how many salary days within that time frame, and then what their balance is at the end of that time frame. So again, per month, people are coming into here and using this to facilitate payroll to say, okay, this crew member's balance at the end of the month is 13.5, as an example. You can also export this, so you can download it as a CSV or print it as a PDF. And again, you can send that off to management and get access that you need to everything in there. And then the other page that's useful for looking at a specific crew member is the reports page. So this reports page is going to take one crew member and it's going to look at their calendar year. So you then as an admin can come into here And firstly, you can see their accrued leave balance throughout the year by hovering over any day in the monthly calendar. You can see their leave periods. You can click to edit their leave periods. You can add leave in here as well. So you can kind of do everything that you need to on this page for a specific crew member. You can also get access to, so the pages, so like the summary page here and the types page and the entries page, all that information for this crew member can be seen along these tabs here. So it's showing you all their different leave entries in a list format, their contract details, and the summary again is showing you within this date range, how many days they had on board, all that kind of thing. So it's a nice page to kind of sense check and look at one particular crew member at any given date and time. The status page is another useful page that we find a lot of vessels use. So this is showing you, it's looking at an individual day, and it's saying on this day, which crew members are on the vessel and which are off the vessel. And then if they are off the vessel on leave, what type of leave are they on? When does that leave period end? When does travel end? And then what their balance will be at the end of that leave period. So obviously the goal for a lot of rotational crew is to have a balance of 0 when they come off rotation. So we're trying to highlight that leave balance at the end of that leave period whenever we can. And this is a good page to go and see that, essentially. And then the entries page, lastly, is quite a nice one to look at who's taking leave within a given month. So this is, again, split by month. You can change it into a year, customizable date, or however long you need to. And it's showing you each crew member's individual leave periods. So again, what type of leave, the dates, whether they're salaried days, all that kind of thing. And it's also giving you a status, whether it's been approved or it's in review. Again, so a process that we often see vessels is that they go and request leave, and they would fall into this pending leave section. And then an admin could come in, see all the pending leave requests that are here, and then go in, review them, and approve them as and when they need to, essentially. So that's that page. So that is essentially the leave system as it stands today. So the big progress for this product over the year is essentially to make it into an end-to-end payroll system. So obviously now being part of the Volley team, the goal of this is to, obviously Volley as a company has acquired a payroll company just before they acquired workrest. The idea with this is that this will become the end-to-end payroll system that you will be able to facilitate payroll from moving forwards. So obviously we've got the contract section, or we've got the crew profile section. So the end goal is that crew information will come through on the crew profile, and then we'll have things like bank details, crew documents, all the things you need on that front. And then we then have the information that you need to facilitate payroll simply by you going and scheduling leave and finding that accrued leave balance. And then the end goal is to be able to go through and click to say, approve timesheet, essentially, or approve payroll for this crew member. And that would go through and essentially go through, pay the employee, send their pay slip, all that kind of thing will be managed through the system. As I said, the rough time frame that we have for that is the end of 2025, but we've got additional features and functionality coming throughout the year for the leave product. So that's leave side of things. So I'll quickly just touch on the in-out product. As I said, the in-out product is in beta at the minute, so it's not a chargeable product, but the current functionality can be used by any vessel using workrest. So the in-out product is essentially a digital version of the in-out board. And again, all the products sync in with each other. So if I've entered leave through the leave product, that leave syncs through to the hours of rest product. So you'd never need to enter the leave period twice. And it also syncs into the in-out product. So if we know the crew member is on leave, they will automatically fall into this leave section for the in-out board. And otherwise, this is showing you who is on the vessel at this moment in time. And we mean by this, not who is away on leave or who's on the vessel, it's who's actually on the vessel or out. So they may be out shopping, they may be out with guests. You can essentially have that information at this step. So this page was designed to be used on an iPad. So essentially you can have this page set up on an iPad, and crew can come in and check themselves in or out of the boat at this level. Crew can also do this on the workrest app. So if I come back to the app and jump to the hours page as well. So this is, again, most of the page that crew will go on. If I go by this navigate button and then go to the in-out page, this is the in-out board similar to what we just saw on the dashboard, but it's for this crew member. So I'm currently logged in as Jane. So you can see if I come back to here, you can see Jane here. There you go. She's the captain. So she's currently out, so off the vessel. And I can go and change my status here to say I'm on the vessel. And that will then update. Let's refresh the page here because it might be a little bit slow in mind. And that's now switched Jane back into on the vessel. So crew can check themselves in or out the vessel through the app or via the dashboard section here. Could be on a tablet. And again, so what you have is each crew member has their own active version of the in-out board, so it can be seen by anyone on the vessel. They can use the in-out board as and when they need to, either via the app or through this dashboard, and then everyone has visibility of it, essentially. So over time, we'll be adding additional functionality, including some visitor check-in, check-out processes. So we're bringing ISPS functionality into the system. So you'll be able to set, so you can check visitors in or out of the vessel, set things like security clearance, random bag search checks, all that kind of thing you'll be able to go into at this point here. You then, as an admin, will be able to see who's on board, both from a visitor and a crew perspective, and can essentially operate all of your in-out and visitor management systems that you need to through this system. And again, it's a nice setup because each crew member has access to this via their app. So you don't need to have multiple apps and multiple systems. It can also be wrapped up in one system, essentially, which is what we're trying to do. So that is essentially it. So if anyone has any questions, do feel free to put them into the comments section. And then we can tackle those. And said, if anyone would like to find out more information, our website is workrest.co. And you can come in here, you can contact us directly through this contact button here. You can get started, so you can go through and create your WordPress account through this get started button here, find out more information, look at the additional products that we have, and get set up from there. So nice and easy to get up and running. And we have a question here as to how to add crew, which is a good one. So essentially, crew can create their personal WordPress account themselves by downloading the WordPress app, going through and creating their account and joining the vessel. You can also, as an admin, so there's a couple of different ways that you can invite crew, but through the dashboard, you can hit this invite crew button and you go in, add the name, add the email address, and that will send out an email to the crew member linking them to the WordPress app where they can then go and create their account. You can also do it through the WordPress app. So if I come back to the homepage, you can see this invite others button. And this is going to, if I'm looking at it on a phone, it's going to link me to it might be my WhatsApp or my text or my email. So it will allow me to basically use my contact list to add other crew or invite other crew to WordPress. So you can do it either through the dashboard or crew can do it via the app. You can also hit the menu button and hit invite others here as well. And again, that's going to link me to that. So yeah, nice and simple to get crew set up on that front. Perfect. Let's have a quick look at any of the questions coming through. Yeah, so in terms of the setup time, so we had somebody ask how long it takes to set everything up. So the process for setting up a vessel, it takes literally, you can have everyone set up within 10 minutes. So we as a company would set the vessel up typically within the system. As soon as that vessel is set up, crew can then go and join that vessel, and then the dashboard will then be ready for them to go in and start using. It really does take just a few minutes to get everyone up and running. As I said, then the only time constraint is how long it takes to get crew set up and linked into the system through their own personal account. But again, that just depends on how quick crew are to respond and create their personal WordPress accounts, essentially. The recording of this webinar will be available to be downloaded, I believe, after this. So we will make sure that gets shared out after. We also have on YouTube, we have a channel with lots of demo videos. So we have a specific demo video for out of rest, for leave, and out. All the different features can be found through there again, which is nice and easy to be linked to. We've got a question on the price. So currently the price for WordPress is, so you've got obviously the out of rest product and the leave product. And it's typically an annual subscription to each of those is £1.50 per meter per month for each individual product for the hours and for the leave. And again, if anyone has any specific or would like to be quoted, just get in touch with us and we can send you over an official quote on that front moving forwards. So I think that's it. If anyone has any other additional questions, do feel free. Obviously, you can get in touch with us anytime after as well. And yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for your time. We'll be doing additional webinars next month as well on workrest topics, TBC on that front, but we will be coming back pretty soon. So yeah, do feel free to reach out and keep an eye for the next webinar. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.